Hi, this is Dennis O'Donovan with ProfitComm. Today we're chatting with Geneau Thames. She's the Vice President of Hartford Mutual Insurance Group and also the President of There Goes My Hero Foundation. Geneau, thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Dennis. Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. So can you remind people who There Goes My Hero is and what they do?
Oh, absolutely. So There Goes My Hero. We're a 501c nonprofit organization. We're located in Baltimore, Maryland. And our mission is simple. It's to save lives, provide hope, and help those impacted by blood cancer.
Okay. Now, we all have reasons why we get involved with nonprofit organizations. What's your connection to the cause? What's your why?
So my why is a pretty personal one, as you know. In 2016, I myself was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. It's a pretty significant form of the disease. It has some pretty significant ratios associated with survivability. But so that's the reason why I joined Hero. I was able to get into remission fairly quickly. I had but the toughest challenge with getting into remission was really staying in remission. And that came with the fact that I needed to have a bone marrow transplant. And so for me, getting a bone marrow transplant wasn't as easy as you make it seem, or as it may seem, because there just weren't enough viable candidates available for me on the National Bone Marrow Registry. And the reason why there weren't a lot of candidates was because bone transplants and bone marrow are uniquely linked to ethnicity. And because I am African American, Caribbean American, both family members, both my mom and my dad are from the Caribbean, and there just aren't a lot of individuals available to choose from on the registry. And so there were some candidates, it just wasn't enough. And by the time you go through the testing and the blood matches and the so forth, from the original matches until the person who's actually going to be your candidate, when they were done with that number, they didn't have anyone left, candidly. And so we ultimately had to go another route, which we did, and it turned out successfully. But I did promise myself that if given the opportunity to survive, that I would try to pay it forward. And so I joined the board of There Goes My Hero to kind of forward that mission.
That's great. And we're lucky to have you. There Goes My Hero started something called Color the Registry. And I think you kind of touched on that with the last question. Can you explain what that is and why it's so important?
Sure thing. So There Goes My Hero does a lot of wonderful things to support blood cancer patients. But one of the initiatives that at least I'm most proud of is the Color the Registry initiative. And that's because there is just a disparate number of individuals of color, not just African American, but Latino American, Asian American, multi-racial, biracial individuals. There's just a lack of individuals on the National Bone Marrow Registry in comparison or in ratio to Caucasians. And that's not for any particular reason other than I think it's just a lack of education and a lack of just basically getting the information out and a lack of awareness on this issue. So we started Color the Registry, and the main goal is simple. That is to just increase the number of individuals of color, all colors, on the National Bone Marrow Registry so that it can reflect the United States at large. I think we agree that our country is diverse. We have people of all different colors and shapes and sizes in this wonderful country of ours. And we want to make sure that the registry mirrors that which we serve.
Such a great point. Lastly, going into all the things that Hero does, how can listeners get involved and how can they help us make a difference, or how can they make a difference for us?
That's a great question, and one I'm glad that you asked, Dennis. So There Goes My Hero does a lot of wonderful things. We support blood cancer patients in a number of ways. Number one, we do so through our volunteer efforts. We do so through our swabbing initiatives, where we try to get individuals swabbed so that they can be registered on the National Bone Marrow Registry. We also do so through just education and awareness in various communities so that we can, bring awareness to causes like blood cancer and so forth. So if you want to help out, and we hope that you will, and if you're called to do so, there's a number of ways you can do so. Number one, we'll donate your time or your talents or even your money to the organization. We're a 501c3 organization, and that's great. The other thing you can do is volunteer at one of our at either Hackerman Pat's, which is a place down at Johns Hopkins that services individuals who are going through the bone marrow transplant process. That's another thing you can do. You can even volunteer at one of our bone marrow swabbing drives, because you can help us out there. And then if you're a part of a business or an organization like ProfitComm or even like Hartford Mutual, you can host a bone marrow drive, a registry where you can help us with spreading the mission of Hero. So a number of ways you can volunteer, a number of ways you can help. They're all listed on our website, theregoesmyhero.org. That's www.theregoesmyhero.org. And you can see all the ways that you can help join us.
Awesome. So, Geneau, I told you at the beginning when I started this little chat session thing, I wanted to talk to you so bad because your story is so impactful, and you are a warrior, an all-around force of nature, and I'm so glad to be part of this with you. And I thank you so much for sharing your story with us, folks. Get this out, reshare this, send it out. If you've got a church or a school or a business, we will come to you and do swabbing. Reach out to me here. I'll get you in touch with Mary Kay, our executive director, and we will do what you can. But please get this message out. Education is key. Geneau, I cannot thank you enough for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dennis, and thanks to everyone else. And again, remember, the mission of Hero is to save lives, provide hope, and help those impacted by blood cancer. We really wish and hope that you'll be able to join us in this fight.